Gentlemen, I have been experiencing a lot of deja vu the past few weeks.
Oh, no. There must be a glitch in the Matrix.
No, I just think that Deborah Chow has really embraced one of the most famous George Lucas quotes of all time.
Interesting. Which one would that be?
It's poetry.
Faster and more intense?
No, that one. No, definitely not that one. It's poetry. It rhymes.
I feel like I've heard that one
Dave
before.
voice now.
No, that's not Dave. That's George.
I know, but Dave does it a lot too.
I can't do it. So anyway, we'll discuss this along with some Stranger Things and first impressions of the latest MCU series next. This is Tatooine Sons.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the Porg on the Millennium Falcon?
Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Turbis?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that Porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys recorded an awesome podcast called Tatooine Sons. Everybody was lit.
Giant locusts.
No, there's on like scabs on my leg and stuff.
Ew.
Yeah, it was not fun. I had to,
but no like
no gigantic
long locust the size of like a beaver.
I would have died.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk. I don't know,
raccoon.
Yeah. Anyway, welcome to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast, the only fan podcast to name a canon Star Wars creature, and to be endorsed by the writer director of The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson. We believe that pop culture is the mythology of our generation, that there is a story, it is written on our souls, and that these myths speak to that story. And that is why we are looking at the very intentional parallels between each episode of the Skywalker saga and its corresponding part of the Obi Wan Kenobi series.
Okay.
Giving our first impressions of Miss Marvel and reacting to the latest episodes of Stranger Things. I am David. I am the dad.
Hi, Dad.
Hello, gentlemen.
That was very
that was way too in sync.
That was
a
good.
little scary.
It's like you're on the same page,
I heard
right?
an echo in the room next door.
It was really. I'm honored to be joined every week by my two amazing sons, Samuel the Hutt. What do we got going this week?
Yeah, Miss Marvel's a bit of a 180 flip from the last MCU.
I see what you
For
did
sure.
there. All right, BB Nate.
Yeah, Stranger Things is sadly coming to an end.
No, but we've got some more happening.
Yes,
we've got several more hours of
I'm
it.
looking forward to the end.
Yeah, like
what I was doing.
4.5 hours.
Dad, what are you doing?
Oh, well, like I kind of teased there earlier, the level of the Skywalker saga callbacks in Obi Wan Kenobi, it went off the charts in this latest episode. But before we get into this, thank you, all of you that are listening to Tatooine Sons. Thank you for listening to this show. You guys make this so much fun, and that's why it's late on a Monday evening. And I think we're all tired and would rather probably get ready for bed, but we're going to record this thing and get it edited and get it up before tomorrow morning because we want to make sure that we follow through on our commitment to you guys. So thank you so much for listening to the show. And thank you to Mary Purdue.
Hey.
Username Mary and Chaz. Mary has been a huge supporter of Tatooine Sons, engaging with us, especially on our Facebook page for years now. But we got to meet Mary at the virtual cantina at Star Wars Celebration, and then her son Chaz, along with her, later on while we were waiting in line. I don't remember which line it was.
Kenobi.
Yeah, we were in line for the red carpet.
But she granted us our wish, gave us a 5-star review.
Oh, thank you
for this week. So 5 stars from Mary and Chaz, Mary Purdue. It says, these guys are so amazing, uplifting, and fun. Love listening to each and every one of their podcasts. So much fun and never any clickbait.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have clickbait
there is
every
clickbait,
episode,
but not that kind of clickbait.
We debunked
that's right. So, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, all are covered so well. Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Appreciate it.
That's awesome. And we'd love for you to help us keep the streak going too. All of you out there listening. So if you can give us a review before next week, I promise we'll do just like that. We'll gush about how awesome you are. So if you need some affirmation like we do, we'll return that to you and read it on the show as long as it's clean. No bad words. Okay, thank you for being clean, Mary. All right. Anyway, enough talking.
I'm real worried about her breaking that one.
Yeah, no, Mary, definitely not Mary. Anyway, but I guess it's time to stop talking about what we're going to talk about. Let's talk about what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I did it right.
I feel like that's
you always
changed.
get so proud of yourself.
I do. It's pretty good. One of the most famous moments in Star Wars history happened when George Lucas stood in front of the storyboards for The Phantom Menace and explained to Rick McCallum and Doug Chiang that Star Wars is like poetry. It rhymes. And that idea is being played out in a very significant way in the Obi Wan Kenobi series. The question is it too much?
Bulky religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
If you live long enough, you see the same eyes in different people.
I was going back to Savannah's house after we hung out yesterday, and I was talking to her parents, and they're like, I know you need to go home, but then they kept talking about Kenobi. I kept wanting to talk about Kenobi and all
What's
this
their
stuff.
impressions
Oh,
of the
they're
show?
loving it. And Mr. Bill was like, as being someone who was there seeing episode 4 in theaters when it came out, he's like, this feels exactly like Star Wars.
Really?
He loves it.
Oh, I love that. I love hearing that.
Great to hear.
That's cool. All right. So the premise is this, okay? Each part, again, Obi-Wan Kenobi isn't listed as chapters or episodes. It's listed as part 1, part 2, part 3,
It's a movie.
It's like a movie that's
and it
in
is being played in theaters again. At some
This is
point.
the rumor that's out. I'm not 100%.
You can find tickets actually for
Really?
it in the UK and Canada, most likely not the US.
Guess
but
we're going to Canada.
They are playing all of the episodes with the live Q&A at the end.
Oh man,
at some theaters.
That's a bummer.
It's about 5 hours and 40 minutes.
Jeez.
So it's crazy.
Okay, well,
So
anyways.
like a quarter of the Stranger Things series.
Yeah. So the premise again, very simply, is that each part of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series parallels or has moments that are callbacks to the corresponding episode in the Skywalker saga. So the first one is obviously part 1 and the Phantom Menace is how this goes together. So curious, we've talked a little bit about this, but what are some of those things that kind of stand out in your mind? I'll start with you, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like you can't really tell the story of Star Wars without going back to Tatooine at some point. And
Which
just
is great for a show called Tatooine
Yes,
Sons.
it keeps us on the map, literally. But
I can't actually do it because it would trend it.
Yeah.
But just like how they were forced to land on Tatooine in episode 1, we find ourselves back on Tatooine in part 1 of Kenobi, because that's obviously where he's been stationed since episode 3. So there was a bit of a parallel there. And
yeah, it's more subtle in this one. I mean,
Yes.
I think that if you just start with the first, with part 1, you're not going to really feel like there's a ton of callbacks, but each part of the Obi Wan Kenobi series has gotten more intense with the callbacks.
Yes,
Would you agree?
I do.
With that, what's one that you saw?
I mean, Leia and Anakin, in some ways, the thing is Anakin wasn't kidnapped. So that's a big difference between him and Leia. But just Kenobi dealing with a 10-year-old kid, that's about the same
He
age.
was
as
annoyed
Anakin
with
was.
him in,
but he's
episode 1
very
as well.
gentle with Leia. He's very kind because there's a special connection there with Anakin and, Padme and all
That's
that.
true.
So there's a different layer to that. And I think he's learned, especially dealing more with, a Padawan, especially. So that's a good comparison.
It is interesting too to think about how in the Phantom Menace, Obi-Wan Kenobi was reluctant to take Anakin as his Padawan.
Why
and
do I
in
feel like he
this,
picked up another useless life form?
well, that, but also even after Qui-Gon,
That's true.
there's this reluctance in that, and that continues on in some of the comics and the books and stuff. But the reality is he's reluctant to go after Leia
Exactly.
In this, and he has to be convinced to do that on this. Obviously, in the Phantom Menace, is Qui-Gon Jinn is front and center, and we see a lot of Obi-Wan Kenobi trying to connect with Qui-Gon Jinn, and we still haven't actually seen that take place yet. I think that could happen in the next episode. I'll explain why maybe a little bit later with that. But there is that Qui-Gon Jinn connection in a big way.
I see what you're doing with this.
In this. All right, so that's the Phantom Menace. And again, like I said, the first part isn't as clear. Each one seems to get a little bit clearer as you go forward. Second, idea is part 2 corresponding with Attack of the Clones. BB Nate, what's one thing in in part 2 that seems to connect?
Well, you have Daiyu, which is the planet that Kenobi and Leia, Kenobi gets to go get Leia. But it is very similar to the lower levels of Coruscant. There's a lot of comparisons. I honestly thought it was more like the planet from.
Well, I think when we saw the original trailer in this, we thought it was Coruscant.
I thought it was a planet.
it was Coruscant.
I thought it was a planet from Mando season 2.
Oh, okay.
That he went to, because that would have made sense, but I don't think it is. But it does have very similar feel to Coruscant and the dirtiness, the grittiness of the
lights, the street things,
the neon, and the way that the people act as well, which I'm sure Sam will touch at some point.
I mean, you hit it right on the nose there. In episode 2, Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan's just up and offered a death stick,
just some crazy person offers
like,
it.
You
want to buy some death sticks?
Right. And then in this,
pretty good. Wasn't it? Was that pretty good?
That was great.
You want to buy some death sticks?
But you won't do Dave.
All right, here's a fun story from my past.
Oh no. You were offered death sticks?
No. So back
you were the one offering death sticks?
20 years ago, 21 years ago, whenever it was, when I was playing Star Wars Combine, that massively multiplayer online role-playing game.
Yeah.
My character was, I called him Soul Advasian, right?
Yeah.
But my avatar, my image was of Elian Sleaze-Bogano, but I literally took off the antennae, and that was his kid. That was him. So there's my connection to that.
Okay.
Anyway,
wow.
But then in
Deep dive.
part 2 of Kenobi, he's just up and offered some spice, which we've come to know more about through later series and stuff. Plus, Doom. It's interesting with Doom. But yes, you're right, Solo. But there is that parallel. Just he's out on these lower levels, these grimy, scummy areas, and he's just offered some drugs. I guess he's just got that face.
I wonder if we're going to see that happen in Mos Eisley, which is why he's like, you'll never find him.
Right, he's like, this is the third time now.
A greater scum, hive of scum and villainy, more wretched hive of scum and villainy. Yeah, like I said, okay. I mean, for me, it's the whole idea of the bounty hunters. There's the bounty hunters that are on the hunt for. You okay over there?
Yes.
Okay. The bounty hunters that are on the hunt for Leia in this, and you have Zam Wessel, of course, and Jango Fett that are on the hunt for Padme, or to try to take out Padme in Attack of the Clones. So there's those parallels with it. The next one becomes really, really obvious. This is where I first started to really notice it, and then started going back and thinking about the other episodes with this. Part 3 clearly connects with episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. So Sam, go for it.
I mean, obviously both Revenge of the Sith and this episode end up in a duel between Obi-Wan and Vader. It's the big climax of the...
More of a slaughter in this episode.
It is different. We talked about that on the last episode.
Less a duel and more he's being chased by Vader, and he's just using his sword to defend himself, his lightsaber to defend himself. But I mean, there is that final confrontation at the climax of the story in both of these, but it ends a little differently.
Yeah.
Well, and before we get to that, I do think it's interesting that Hayden Christensen was asked about that duel.
Yeah, I saw that.
And we saw that, and I think I shared that with you guys today on in our messaging, our chat thing. But Hayden Christensen was basically like saying what he thinks Vader was his reaction was during that duel in part 3, and it was like, shocked that Kenobi was disconnected with the Force and not fighting back, and wanting more from him, like goading him to try to get him to do more, and he wasn't. And then he says, "This is going to come back to play." I don't want to say, I can't say too much, but this is going to come into play later.
We knew
on.
that there was another duel.
I think that that's cool that he addressed it. All right, BB Nate, obviously we have the duel, but then
Vader starts lifting Kenobi into a fire and holding him there so he would burn. And I was freaking out at this scene. I was not excited, but I was interested in the parallels between that and, of course, Anakin burning.
And that's the moment that you're like, wait, there's more going on.
Yes. Yeah. And it was a beautiful scene in how it was done. And how it was done, and the writing.
And meanwhile, I'm going to take Nathan to counseling after this episode.
I didn't like that.
Got a little pyro over here,
but I did enjoy the parallels and how defeated
the poetry of it.
Exactly, and how defeated Kenobi was after it, because he realized how much he failed even more after this battle.
Do you think that Kenobi's laying there being held down in the Force? Because I do believe that he's being held down. I don't think that he's just laying there knocked out, right? Being burned and thinking, I deserve this.
I do. I really do. I feel like it's letting him come back to kind of letting himself deal with what he did, his failure. And he's like, okay, well, this is something I deserve. I failed, so I deserve
Well,
this.
I failed because I left Anakin.
Yes.
Yeah.
To die. And Josh, that
it was anyway. Emotional. It was a tough scene.
There's another one that's in there, and I don't think this one's being talked about that much, but this idea that the Empire is good. We see that when Ben and Leia land on the planet to go meet the person they're trying to connect with, and you get the truck driver, and I don't remember his name, and he's got the Imperial flag insignia. I don't remember, on the back of his truck. And there's this idea of, in Revenge of the Sith, the Empire is being celebrated. There's the famous line from Padme, "This is how liberty dies," to thunderous applause.
Right.
And they all feel like the Empire is a good thing. And we get to see that playing out with this citizen, in this scene.
All in.
Who's just like, the Empire's good. We need a little law and order, in our world today, or in galaxy today, which is exactly what the idea of the Empire was in Revenge of the Sith.
Turns out he was not voiced by Seth Rogen.
No,
that kind of surprised me.
It wasn't Seth Rogen. No, it was that kid, the guy from
Scrubs.
Scrubs. Yeah, I
don't
can't
remember his name.
Did you guys thought it was Seth Rogen?
Yeah, it sounded like him. Didn't it, Nate?
I was kind of, but I knew it wasn't him.
No, okay.
All right, it sounded like him. Anyway.
All right, they just, they are loaded up in part 4 and the connections to episode 4.
Yes.
A new hunt.
A new hunt. Wow.
That's not nearly as good of a title.
No, I think A New Hope is better.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Well, why don't you explain while I recollect my thoughts here?
Well, the most glaring one is rescuing the princess, rescuing Leia from Fortress Inquisitorius, which I feel like has more security than the Death Star. Maybe a little bit.
Kind of harder to get to the Death Star.
That's true.
You would,
true. But still, two people infiltrated Fortress Inquisitorius, which is a little crazy. But we did see, Leia got captured. Again, she just can't not get captured. I swear, that's all we see her do before.
Well, it's not her fault either time that she's captured.
I know, but it's crazy. Even it happens in A New Hope too, but we do see
I literally heard the dun 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 when the Genesee 4 is being captured by the Imperial's destroyer.
Right.
You said she's captured, and I've got that in my head. All
right. But we see her get rescued by Kenobi again, which is basically the same thing.
It's the same plot.
Exactly.
Which goes even further. I was sitting there cheering. You guys, did you notice me cheering? Like signaling for this to happen? So he's in the hallway and he's hiding, and the two stormtroopers are walking down the hallway, and he's waiting for them, and they keep getting closer and closer, and it's like they've heard him, and I keep waiting for him to make use the Force to make a sound away from them to distract it, like he does in A New Hope. And when he did it, I was cheering. Like sitting in the seat, I was like, yes, he did it. And that's cool, because that's the moment. That's like the first time I'm just going to be honest. That's the first time it feels like Obi Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
It feels like Ben in that, like he's there. He's trying to come out, of it again. Mm-hmm. And that was a small little moment, but it was one of my favorite moments of the entire series, about this point.
Pretty cool. Another huge parallel. I mean, obviously Leia's captured, but one of the big moments in not only this episode, but episode 4 is the interrogation. It's a little bit more intense.
It felt more like Rey's in this one.
It did.
Yeah. It was pretty intense in this one. And I don't know how anyone can see the Empire is good, seeing as they openly kidnap and torture children. But
I don't think the general public in the galaxy, it's not like, on CNN, galactic news or something like that.
I don't know if it was, I don't remember where I saw it, but Nathan, you might remember this, but it was like some comedy skit, and it was talking about Star Wars, and they're like, do you think we're the bad guys? And they're like, what do you mean? He's like, well, we have handcuffs specifically designed for children.
Oh, okay.
Like,
yeah.
Maybe we're the bad guys.
I'm
here.
pretty sure that was Robot Chicken.
I think you're right. But I mean, even the noises that were being made when she was on that interrogation table were just like that interrogation droid in the cell in episode 4. So there's a huge parallel there.
Yeah.
And then we have somebody disguised as an Imperial, which this is different. In A New Hope, Luke and, Han weren't actually Imperials ever. But I forget the chick's name.
Tala, I think
Tala,
is her name.
whatever it is. We'll call her Tala for now.
She's taller to us.
She's taller to us. But,
is she taller than Kenobi?
No, she actually isn't. But Tala is an actual Imperial and hasn't quite gotten her credentials revoked yet because they haven't found out that she's, defected. So she uses
not at this point. They have at the end of this.
They did at the episode.
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
But she uses her rank to get into the fortress to help out Kenobi with navigation and kind of like what Han did in A New Hope and Luke. But we see her using her rank in a very intense scene when she's being questioned at the beginning when she's about to go through the TSA basically of the fortress. Space TSA. She got random stopped, but
like BB Nate always gets random stopped.
Always 3 times in a row at one point, which is crazy. But she did get stopped, and that was a very intense scene because we don't know. The thing is with some shows you can be like, okay, they're going to make it out, but we didn't know how this was going to go down.
Right.
So I was wondering if she was going to get found, but I honestly really enjoed her character.
Yeah, it was really good.
She was a really good character.
It was very intense.
Kenobi with Leia under the trench coat when they were running out.
which had they
feels so Star Wars. It's so goofy. I love it.
It did remind me some of Rio in Solo: A Star Wars Story. When he's in the uniform.
Oh, yeah.
It did remind me somewhat of that.
Yeah,
but anyway,
that's a good point.
That's not the callback, but anyway.
Right.
There's one that's like so obvious.
Yeah, I mean, Nate, you're talking about how she was helping him get through the Fortress Inquisitorius like Han, but it's more like 3PO, I think. Okay. There's that scene in episode 4, A New Hope, when they're in the trash compactor, but 3PO and R2 had to hide in the closet, I think. Because the troopers were inspecting them, and they left the comm unit on the desk, and there's this shot, really iconic shot of the comm unit sitting there. And then in this,
same comm unit
gets pulled by an officer, and it's left in the same area, like the same spot, like same idea. He needs to know what's going on and all of this. Huge parallel to that scene in episode 4. So that was kind of cool to see.
Yeah, and of course the episode ends with
a stupid twist.
Well,
I don't like it.
What do you mean?
I don't like it. I don't like when
you don't like it because it creates conflict.
Oh, droids got used.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because you're a droid guy.
I'm a droid guy. And I liked Lola. I
wasn't really thinking about it like Lola. I was thinking more of the fact that in A New Hope, when they leave the Death Star, they're allowed to leave by Vader.
That's where she knows this trick.
Well, no, it's the other way around because that hasn't happened yet.
No, I'm meaning in episode 4.
Oh, that it's going to happen?
She knows.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So the idea is Reva puts a tracker on Lola and lets them get free so they can find the path and everybody involved in the path and expose that. And Vader was kind of like going to kill her and then decides, no, never mind. I won't kill you for that, which is a parallel to them letting the Falcon go with the tracker to find the rebel base in that. But then do you realize, though, that if you put this in the timeline, that the idea to let the Falcon go with the tracker on it by Vader is because he saw it happen with Reva.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a fun
never
story.
admit that, though.
Yeah, I'm curious. Okay, so I know that we just to keep it real simple. What's the big one that you think is going to happen in part 5? That's going to connect with that.
I think you kind of alluded to it, but in Empire Strikes Back, we got our first look at Force Ghosts. They've been teasing Qui-Gon for a while now. If they were going to bring him in at any point, it would make the most sense here.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's the big one. Like, it has to happen.
In episode 6 of this, you're going to get the final confrontation, much like Luke and Vader.
I think we're going to have
and
Ewoks.
Vader's going to turn good. No.
Wait.
No, but are you going to have that conversation? Remember the conversation in Return of the Jedi is between Luke and Vader about him being good on Endor.
I think that'll happen.
Yes,
you
will.
Get that conversation between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin.
Because I think that Qui-Gon will, like, ask him to, he's saying, they're still good in him and all this stuff.
Well, Joby Harold, the writer, has come out on record again and said all of the things that people are freaking out about and saying are discontinuity. She was made it really clear in the last few days. They're all going to resolve themselves just fine before the end of this show with it. But I think it's a good time for a little bit of a dad moment.
I am your father.
It's a really interesting thought exercise to dig into cycles in life. I mean, for an example, 25 years ago, Christy and I, their mom. Sam and Nate's mom, had just moved to Daphne, Alabama. And since then we've moved to Colorado and then into an RV for a year all over the country and then back to Colorado and then to California and then back to Colorado and then to Florida. And even though we had no intention of ever moving back here, we will celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary this weekend back here in Daphne.
That's crazy.
Alabama. Life is not a straight line.
It's a circle.
It's a circle. History repeats.
Circle.
Sorry, the circle of life. Yeah, that's a little different than that. But anyway, history repeats itself. And while some might consider the fact that the Obi Wan Kenobi series is taking plot lines and ideas from the Skywalker saga as maybe lazy writing, with that's the criticism I've heard. I actually think it shows a very important truth. What has been will be again. I
had a thought to tag on before this because I thought about it while you were playing the sound for the dad moment.
Nice.
I think to wrap up some things that fans are upset about and also parallel, I think Grand Inquisitor is going to come back from the dead, quote unquote.
100%.
Like how Vader does in episode 6. And he's going to defeat Reva like how Vader defeats the Emperor.
I called this weeks ago.
Well, but I think it's going to parallel episode.
It'll be interesting to see it play out. We have 2 more episodes to go. And again, like we've been saying for the last 5 or 6 minutes, they're almost certainly going to parallel 100%. The Empire Strikes Back and the Return of the Jedi. So again, something really bad is about to happen tomorrow as well. That episode will end.
Didn't happen in 3?
Well, in 5, in episode 5 of Star Wars, it ends on a very bad, dark note. True. I hope we don't bring Solo into the story. That's all I have to say. And then, it'll get all worked out in the finale a little over a week away. With that. All right.
Good segment.
Good job. As always.
That's good. All right. So what do we have now? Oh, it's bad news. Oh yeah, the Star Wars clickbait is out like crazy. It must have something to do with the buzz around the Kenobi series. So we need to have lots more Star Wars content out there in clickbait sites. And that's up next on Bad News.
Well, you want the bad news or the really bad news?
Star Wars fans wish Kenobi never happened.
I did not realize that I didn't wish
What, you didn't?
Show.
I did.
Wow.
I never wanted it to happen.
Really?
Yeah, for sure, since I'm a huge Star Wars fan.
You're kicked off the show. Inside the Magic, which would better be rebranded as Inside the Clickbait, has a headline this week that has very little to do with the actual content of the article that follows it.
Nothing new for them.
The show references some tweets about the Obi Wan Kenobi series, and some of them are actually pretty tame. Others are a little bit more critical, but none of them state that anyone wishes that Kenobi never happened. In reality, the majority of the tweets suggest the show would have been better served as a cinematic release instead of a series on Disney Plus. That's a far cry from claiming they wished the show never existed.
Jeez. Yes.
That's a clickbait level of 9.
Yeah, at least.
On that.
Exclusive Obi Wan Kenobi Reva spin-off series in the works for Disney Plus. ScreenGeek.com, which interestingly brands itself to look very similar to ScreenRant.com, has a big scoop this week.
Really big one.
Huge.
It's a big one.
It claims that a new Reva spin-off series is coming to Disney Plus. But before you get your hopes up, they have no real evidence behind this claim.
No.
Our sources, it's like trusted and proven.
This is what they said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Our sources have told us that a Reva spin-off series starring Moses Ingram is in development for Disney Plus. We were unable to get any plot details regarding the spinoff, so it's unclear if it will be set before or after Obi Wan Kenobi. Learning more about the third sister would be interesting, but this is a claim without any evidence, so it gets a clickbait level of 8.
Wow. Awesome.
All right, exclusive. 12 seconds ago, Hugh Jackman in talks to join Star Wars.
Did it literally say 12 seconds ago?
No, I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
Giant freaking robot is tapping into the old trusted and proven sources bit, reporting that Hugh Jackman is being recruited for a Star Wars series on Disney+. As usual, they provide zero evidence other than claiming that we should take their word for it, and their word has proven less than trustworthy before.
It would be cool, though.
Clickbait level of 8. Yeah, I'd have to do a musical or something.
No.
Kind of like Joker 2?
No.
Yeah. Which, I don't know what I'm
All right. On that note, let's move forward in the show. Samuel the Hutt.
The first episode of Ms. Marvel dropped last week, and it was certainly a whiplash-inducing shift from the previous series of Moon Knight.
Different character.
But maybe it's a breath of fresh air. We'll share our thoughts on the series next.
Be on your guard. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world.
All right, then, keep your secrets.
You're coming to us. Yes, as the footsteps of steps.
There are many magic rings in this world, Bilbo Baggins, and none of them should be used lightly.
Easter eggs in this. I'll give it that. Well, the entire con was basically just full of Easter eggs.
Yeah.
I mean, you had the, Captain America butt greeting card.
That was great.
That was funny.
That was great. I wish that was an actual product.
You're welcome.
We could make a t-shirt.
I bet you it's somewhere, but
it probably wouldn't be good.
There were t-shirts and all sorts of stuff, but
Dad just starts working on it.
I'm working on the t-shirt as we speak. Then I'm thinking about Mom would probably not like it. So. All right.
But let's just get right into this with y'all's initial thoughts or rating of this episode on a scale of 1 to 10 Zuzus.
Why are you pointing at me like I have to go first?
Yeah, you go first, Dad.
I'll give it a 7. I thought it was a long, how do I say this? It was 50 minutes that if it was a Spider-Man origin story movie, like the original Spider-Man movie,
could have been cut down to 15,
or what's the Andrew Garfield? What's that version? The Amazing Spider-Man.
Fantastic
Mark Webb.
Fantastic.
It's just the Webb versus.
If it was one of those movies, everything that you saw happen in this episode would have happened in the first 15 minutes, and it would have been good.
Yeah.
In that, it just felt like it was way too long. We don't have. We'll talk about it. I'm sure. It was fine. It was a good. I don't think the show's made for us. I don't think it's made for a 47-year-old middle-aged man living in Daphne, Alabama. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be. And I still will watch it. And I hope that there's a compelling villain coming. And anyway, we'll talk about it. BB Nate, you go.
There's some antagonists. A 6.
Okay.
I don't see where this could go. And I always watch the MCU shows wondering, okay, how am I going to like seeing this character in the MCU? Like, I watched Moon Knight, okay, how is it going to be seeing this character? And it was going to be a lot of fun. But this one, just...
Yeah.
Sam?
I was going to give it a 7.
All right, IGN.
I'm with both of you.
6.5.
Both of your... Well, I would give it a 6.5, but honestly, I'll admit... we'll talk about this, but the cinematography and the setting and the visuals were very unique and were pretty interesting. So I found it kind of cool, so I bumped it up to a 7. But let's first just talk about your main character, Kamala Khan. I think I'm pronouncing her name right. Okay. We got a good introduction to her in this episode. Like you said, we have plenty of time to. We learn that she's a huge daydreamer. She barely ever focuses.
Those are some fun scenes.
Yeah, she's super, super imaginative. That was it Sloth Angel thing at the beginning was honestly really fun. The whole recap of Endgame and stuff.
That was cool. I was cool. Sitting there thinking I would watch a YouTube channel.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, why doesn't she have more subscribers? And then we learned that she is an Avengers super fan. Yeah. Like, unlike anything you've ever seen before. And then this is, your pretty typical high school story. She wants to do her own thing, not what her parents want her to do. She's her own person in this. So, but since we're pretty familiar with her character in the comics, do you guys like her character so far?
I like it. I think that it's, like you said, very stereotypical, and I hope we get some more complexity to it, some more originalities where we can be like, okay, I understand this character is different than what we've seen before, just not another high school kid, but we understand it. And I think we will get that, and I'm excited to see when that does, come to fruition. But I think that right now her character is fine. I don't dislike her, but I'm not a huge fan of her. But yeah, I'm in the middle.
I like the character. I like the story of the family. It's take it and put it into just general ideas. And you've got this family where the parents are extremely conservative and they're careful to protect their daughter. They want their daughter to be protected from sort of the world, corruption and everything around them. And they don't do it. It's never presented in a overbearing, hyper religious, negative way. No. It's truly presented like the parents love their daughter and they're wanting to protect her. And that scene where the dad comes in dressed like Hulk and little Hulk with her wanting to go together. That really was a great scene. As a dad, I'm like, I could see myself doing something stupid like that. And it doesn't work for Kamala. No. She doesn't like it. And I get that. And I also felt the hurt that the dad had and the mom had in that. Oh, yeah. I also think that there's more going on with the parents, especially the mother. I think the mother understands something going on that we haven't seen yet. But I like the family dynamic. I like the bigger brother with that. I like that he's religious, but it's not presented in this really weird way.
No, he's just a normal dude that's religious. Yeah,
he's very passionate about his faith. I like all of that about this story. Yeah, I really enjoyed that part of the story.
Yeah, I think they handled it well. Nate, you kind of touched on this a little bit. But does she feel like a good fit in the MCU?
Right now, I don't think so. Okay. Her character, it fits this show very well, but that's what it is. I don't think that I could see her having those daydreaming moments in the Marvels movie. It would just throw everything off.
That's fair.
I don't think that I could see her acting like how she does in a few parts around Captain Marvel or around Photon. It just would feel off. But I do think that over the course of this show, when she starts learning her powers and all this, I think we will be getting more of a Spider-Man-esque character. Just kind of the high school student that gains powers.
Yeah.
And deals with that. Yeah.
That kind of brings me to my next question. Is this just kind of another Peter Parker rehash with different powers?
I don't think it's a rehash. And that's not what I was trying to say earlier. I wasn't saying that this is just the same storyline, but put with Miss Marvel. It's not. It's not the same storyline, but there are parallels, there are similarities to it, because you're dealing with a high school teenager that's sort of on the fringes in her own high school, and she's having struggles with her family life and all of that. And then you throw in especially the MCU version of Peter Parker, this kid that's making videos and just, having fun with this. And you got that with Kamala Khan in this. So I do think that there are some parallels, but I don't think it's a rehash by any means.
No, I don't think so either.
I think that's good. Now let's talk about the setting and the tone of this series, because that's really what, does the most to differentiate this from anything we've seen in the MCU. It's got, like I mentioned earlier, those really interesting cinematography choices and visuals with her daydreaming all over the walls and stuff. Whenever she's discussing something, it shows up somewhere in the background. Really cool stuff. I honestly really love that visual storytelling that in it. But do you guys almost feel like it's in some ways, at least right now, granted we are
one episode
very early in, right? One episode in. We can't judge the entire series off of one episode. But right now, does it kind of feel more like a high school drama / coming of age story than it does a superhero story?
I do think that it feels like that right now, and I'm sure that'll change. I feel like what they could have done with this first episode is like what Dad was saying, shorten that high school drama and everything down a little bit, and then have that Avengers Con stuff happen to where we could get her powers a little bit sooner, and then kind of see her dealing with that a little more.
Well, I think the biggest reason that it feels more like a high school drama and a coming of age story than superhero story right now is because we don't even have a villain. We don't have a bad guy. We don't have any kind of conflict. The only conflict in this is the conflict between Kamala and her family.
Right.
In this. And so at this point, that feels like, a Disney Channel high school show versus an MCU story. And I know they're going to have to change that to move this forward, but that's the case.
Yeah, one thing, a couple points I want to make. One thing about you mentioned the antagonist. Moon Knight did do one thing really well in that, well, first we did know who the villain was when we started going into it, so that had benefit. But literally the first scene we saw of that series was Arthur Harrow putting glass in his shoes. That already was like, whoa, what's going on here? So we at least had something to look to. But I think, Nathan, kind of going to your point, I think a better, not necessarily better, but a better direction they could have gone with this episode is shorten the drama side of things down to like half of the episode, have the Avengers Con happen, and then have the rest of the episode be like Shazam, the beginning of Shazam.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
When he's just kind of playing around with the powers, being goofy like a kid would when he finds out he has powers, recording it and goofing off with his best friend.
Yeah.
Having her do that with, Bruno?
Yeah.
For the rest of the episode would have at least made it feel a little bit more superhero.
Exactly.
And as much as the Bruno-Kamala relationship, feels sort of Disney Channel story as well versus MCU story, I do like Bruno. I do like the character, and I do like his. He's definitely got this thing for Kamala, and she's clueless.
Yeah.
To it. At least that's the way it's coming across to me right now. But his concern, like his desire to help her and to help her get to the con and to make the costume and all of that. It's a good character, and I'm excited to see where that goes.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah, I agree.
But are you overall, you guys, like a fan of the kind of style and direction they've taken with this series? Not necessarily going away from the story and more like the setting and the visuals and stuff. Are y'all a fan?
I can't say either way right now because I think that it'll fit for the series, but I can't say if I'm a fan of it or not because I haven't gotten much of it. I've gotten 50 minutes in the first episode. That's it. And the episode itself was, like we said, very, very drama heavy. So it was difficult to figure out if I would enjoy it as a whole series or not. So I think after the second episode, I'll be able to definitely tell if I enjoy it.
I do. I liked it. It was fun. And it's a really interesting storytelling, choice. I think you even referenced this a minute ago, but BB-8, I don't know how that translates into a a Marvel's movie.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how you translate that character and the way that she does things. It's the same. This is the exact same concern I have about Deadpool in the MCU. It's no different. Yeah. It's not that I don't like this character and the storytelling choices with the way they did it. I just don't know how it fits in. And it's the same way you bring in a Deadpool, breaking the fourth wall, doing all the stuff that the Deadpool character is known for. How does that translate into the MCU?
Yeah.
That's concerning to me. So it's the same thing.
You guys feel like it should almost serious up in the future episodes of the series to better transition into the larger MCU?
I don't know. Because then if they just
that might take away from the character.
It might take away from the character, and it might just feel like, why did you do it in the first place? If you're just going to switch, then why didn't you have it serious in the beginning, or at least more serious, so where we could, have more time with the character instead of you just switching. So it's a difficult position they put themselves in.
It's a bold choice to do the direction that they did, and I hope that it works for them because I really, like I said, I don't have a problem with it the way they did it. I just hope that it translates into the future of the MCU differently.
Yeah. And the last little point I want to talk about is just kind of where does the series go? What's the point? At the very end of this episode, she finally got her powers. But there's still no clear direction or point to the series yet. We have no idea who could be the antagonist or any sort of indication as to who the bad guy could be. Granted, there's still a lot of series to go, but you'd think they'd at least give us an inkling of the conflict, but there's nothing. What do you guys want to see in the next episode or the series as a whole at this point?
I want to see direction. I want to see a clear path, or at least sort of a path of where we go with this series. And how we, instead of it just being 6 episodes of an origin story, I want to see a whole superhero arc. I want to see a comic arc where we have Kamala getting her powers and then having to deal with a driving force against her, an antagonist. But we don't have that yet. And I'm worried that they will just go 3 episodes of an origin and then 3 more episodes of conflict with her family. So we'll see.
I think they're going to end up bringing in an antagonist. I think we're going to get fine. I think that there was something that was planted in this first episode that I don't know. I know we haven't really talked about it. And that was, is it her Nani that died?
Yeah.
Yes.
The person who sent the,
is that her grandmother?
I think it's an aunt
or an aunt.
An aunt or something. I think okay, an aunt.
Or the sister of the mom. Yeah.
The mom knows something about this person.
Right.
She receives the gifts. The bracelet is one of them. The mom wants to get that away from Kamala right away. She talks about how how Nani was always, you know, a dreamer and fantastic in the way that she thinks about things. And she compares Kamala to that. There's a reason that Nani sent the bracelet to Kamala. All of that is part of this story that we just haven't seen. So I do think that in some of the trailer, that we did see them in India. So I think that that's where things end up going. I think you're going to have a villain. It's going to be in India. I think that it's going to connect to Nani. And I think that Miss Marvel is going to end up having to go
from India though.
Or Pakistan.
Yeah,
excuse
Pakistan.
me. I apologize. That's really, I mean, honestly, that was kind of insensitive for me to just, my brain just went down that path there. I apologize. It is Pakistan, with that. So, but having said that, that's where they're going to go. They're going to go to Pakistan
I think you're right.
do that.
Overall, at this point, are you guys excited for the rest of the series? Kind of indifferent, or just kind of turned off at this point?
As I was at the beginning of the series, I'm indifferent. I'll watch them, and I hope I do get excited for the series. But as of now, I'm not really excited. So,
Dad?
Yeah, I think it's, you know, I mean, you know, my position on the series has not changed, you know, from the trailer, to this point. It was like, okay, this looks different. I don't think this show's made for me. It doesn't have to be. You're not going to hear me complain about that.
No, exactly.
But having said that, I'm glad that they're making this, and I know it's connecting with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to appreciate it. And hopefully, you know, we'll see some things that are allowing the story, the concerns with the story to be resolved that we have.
Yeah.
So.
You about summed up my exact thought as well. Ms. Marvel will have the standard season length of 6 episodes, with the next one releasing tomorrow. While, like Dad said, we may not be the target audience for this series, which is not a problem. We are still very interested in seeing where the series might take us next.
Yeah. It is bizarre to me that they released this on the same day as Obi Wan Kenobi.
I thought they would wait.
Maybe it's so they can have something for our target audience, because we are much more in line for something like Kenobi.
This is true.
This.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. All right, good segment.
Yes, good job.
Thanks for bringing that together. All right, let's talk a little bit about movie stuff. Movie moments. We saw a couple of movies last week. We liked them both.
Yes, they were good.
Plus, a movie that's been a decade in the making finally releases its first trailer, and that's all up next on Movie Moments.
At last, we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last, we will have revenge.
One new release this week, Lightyear. It is about a sci-fi action adventure and the definitive origin story of Buzz Lightyear, the hero who inspired the toy. Lightyear follows the legendary space ranger after he's marooned on a hostile planet 4.2 million light years from Earth alongside his commander and their crew. As Buzz tries to find a way back home through space and time, he's joined by a group of ambitious recruits and his charming robot companion cat, Socks. Complicating matters and threatening the mission is the arrival of Zurg, an imposing presence with an army of ruthless robots and a mysterious agenda. The director is Angus.
Like the steak.
Wow. Angus McLean. The cast is Chris Evans, Keke Palmer, and Taika Waititi. The studio is Walt Disney. And
I've been wondering who that voice was.
You didn't know that?
You didn't know
I
that?
didn't pick up on it.
And the studio is Walt Disney, and it is rated PG for action, peril, and Pixar. It's a Pixar movie too. Going yes or no?
Sam, what do you think?
You're a big Toy Story guy. Big Buzz Lightyear dude. You watched the original animated series, which should get on Disney Plus because it's a great series. It's not on Disney Plus. It's a fantastic series.
You know, I'm honestly conflicted.
I get it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to see it, but there's some choices.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to wait. We'll just have to wait and see how it plays
My
out.
complaint, though, is why doesn't Zurg have his fancy cape?
He doesn't have it yet, maybe. Or maybe that was just a decision for the toy.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. We'll see.
I'm uncertain as to whether or not I want to see it too. And part of the reason is just because it feels disjointed in the trailers.
I heard that this is one of Pixar's most lackluster stories that they've ever done.
I'm not really, it's not one when I've watched the trailers.
And I'm kind of like,
that I'm like,
yes.
I've got to go see this. And so,
like,
you guys are out of town this weekend. I'm out of town with mom. So we're not seeing it this weekend. No.
Yeah.
So, we'll just have to
probably
wait.
not next weekend either, but we'll see. Yeah. I'm waiting to see how it is. But we did see a couple movies this week. Really good movies. We saw Top Gun Maverick first.
Yeah.
Dad.
Oh, yeah.
You're the old man in the group.
I am the old man in the group.
What did you think of Top Gun Maverick?
I loved it.
Oh,
it did something that I did not think it could do. And that was like fully lean into what Top Gun was originally. And like, you do fan service in this movie every step of the way.
Yes.
And it did it.
With it. And we could tell that from the trailer, that it was going to do it. But not only did it execute fan service really well, it delivered a fantastic story. It was emotionally compelling. It was a lot of fun. I was on the edge of my seat and it felt like a Star Wars movie.
I was only missing, it needed more Highway to the Danger Zone and Take My Breath Away.
It needed Take My Breath Away.
It was sorely lacking in both of those. So.
Did you like it though?
Oh yeah, it was so much fun. It was great. Yeah.
I loved it.
I have no real complaints.
I would go see it again. I loved it so much. It was a really great movie. It blew the original one out of the water for me.
All right, now watch it, son.
I really think, I do think it was better, but that might just because I don't have any emotional connection to the original one. And just from an objective standpoint as a movie, I think it just was more well done. The writing was a lot better. It wasn't as cheesy.
The story was more,
the story was more compelling. And I really loved the relationship between Maverick and Rooster and how that all ended up. And
yeah, it was good.
It was great. I really liked that. And
I thought for a second they were going to kill off Mav.
I thought for a second they were going to kill off Rooster and Mav, and I got really worried. Yeah. But now the movie I was waiting for, I'm really excited. Jurassic World Dominion.
I loved it. I thought it was great. I mean, it was dumb. There was a bunch of plot holes in it, and I loved every second of it. It was so much
dinosaurs.
Fun. It was jump scares and cringe moments, like when locusts that are the size of beavers were flying through the air, and all of that. And at the same time, I loved it. And screw the critics. Go see this movie. It's fun. So
I was such a big fan of it. I loved it. It was so much fun. It was also fun seeing it in a full theater when people cheered at the end.
They clapped twice and then again at the end they clapped.
It was crazy. But for trailers, we got a Black Adam trailer, and
we did.
Did you see it?
I've seen literally nothing for this.
I sent it to you.
Really?
Yeah, he did.
I completely missed it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Shame
when
on
you're
you.
a full-time working man.
But even Dad saw it and he's full-time working. But I really liked it. The only thing I'm excited for is Pierce Brosnan and playing Kent Nelson.
The only thing you're
Dr.
excited
Fate.
for?
I mean, Black Adam's cool and all, but I'd rather see Black Adam later trying to become an anti-hero instead of him already just becoming an anti-hero right as he ends up on Earth. I want to see him ruling Kahndaq and all that stuff, but I'm sure we'll get that at some point. But I'm a huge fan.
No idea what he's talking about.
I'm a huge Dr. Fate fan. I love Dr. Fate.
You just like magical doctors.
I don't know why, but Dr. Fate isn't even a doctor, which is, I don't know why.
But is he like the Doctor Strange of this universe?
Yes.
Doctor Strange mixed with Moon Knight.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, because the helmet is what gives the wearer a power, and it's Nobu. It's an Egyptian god, so it is a lot like Moon Knight.
It was a good trailer. I enjoyed it.
It was a good trailer. Yeah. You said we didn't see Dr. Fate in costume, but we actually did, and he looks as cool as ever.
Really? I didn't notice it. Okay.
I was.
He went frame by frame to make sure.
I did for sure.
He took screenshots.
No, I didn't.
It's his wallpaper now.
But for box office results this weekend, Jurassic World Dominion, not surprisingly, took away with 143 million domestic and 389 million total. That is
basically the same opening as Fallen Kingdom. Yeah.
Which means it'll probably, depending on how far it drops off next weekend, it probably won't drop off that much. It's not a Marvel movie. So it'll most likely make $1 billion. Fallen Kingdom made $1 billion.
I don't think so.
We'll see.
Fallen Kingdom made $1 billion. But Top Gun Maverick $50 million domestic, and had a whopping $747 million total.
Like the Boeing.
Yes. $747 million total, which is very impressive for its short runtime already.
It's done fantastic.
And it's done a great job. And Doctor Strange 2,
still in third place.
$4 million domestic. Dang. Which is good.
It's at 930. Do we clear it? Does it clear $1 billion?
I don't think it's going to.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to.
Yeah. It did better than Morbius, though.
Everything did better than Morbius.
I think that has to be like the lowest performing Marvel movie of all time in a week. That was terrible. Yeah. But Stranger Things 4 is out. Well, it's been out for a while. We're just a little slow, and it exceeded most of our expectations.
Stop it! It's not the same. All right.
So let's dive into what happened and what might happen in Volume 2.
Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Yeah, I can fly.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
The people in this room, which one is A, wearing a spangly outfit, and B, not of use?
There's only one God, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
That man has no limits.
My best friend, who just went into the Coast Guard, I haven't seen for years, was like, hey, come and spend a week with me over 4th of July.
So that means you aren't going to be here to watch Stranger Things, the final part.
Not with y'all, no.
And you're not going to be here for Thor: Love and Thunder.
No, I'm sorry.
I don't care. All right, we're still watching them.
Yeah, I'll watch it too. We'll just
have to watch them with Tristan.
I'm watching. Yeah,
I'm watching
Stranger
Things like we did with Rebels when it would come out.
Yes,
and stuff like that.
I'm watching Stranger Things as soon as I can because I'm very excited for this.
I think Tristan and I are staying up till midnight.
I might try the same. But Dad,
yeah.
Let me get your reactions on this first. Initial reactions for Stranger Things Volume 1. They call it volumes like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Stranger Things 4 Volume 1.
Yeah, Stranger Things 4 Volume 1. Initial reactions on a scale of 1 to 10 superpowered children, because we're leaving 11 and 12 out. And 13 and 14. I think it goes up to like 15.
Huh? The number of kids? The names of kids? Oh, yeah. 8.
Okay.
I thought it was good. It was good. You just oversold it to me.
Well, you didn't get it. All right, okay. Sammy.
9.5.
See, that's where I don't get it.
I think it's just because Sammy and I are the target audience for this show. Because you might think it's you because you grew up in the 80s, but it's because us, all the teenagers and everything, wanted to grow up in the 80s and everything. And so now we're seeing that world, and we're also seeing this great story with the upside down.
So what would you give it? He gave it a 9.5.
I would give it a 9.5 as well.
Really?
I don't think I could give it a 10 yet. We'll see how Volume 2 is. But I really loved it.
All right.
I loved the season, and probably because the last 2 seasons were pretty lackluster, in my opinion. It did feel like it went back to the formula of season 1 with the scariness, the creepiness, the mystery, and everything.
Okay.
But
walk me through it.
But before I get into a deep dive or a few things of what happened and where it leads us, just give me y'all's crazy predictions for the final volume. But hold up, don't give a prediction sure to go wrong. That's later. But
I don't even have a prediction.
What do you think?
I have no idea.
Happen?
Yeah, I mean, everything's so up in the air right now. It left us off at a not a bad spot. It was just it's a weird spot that we're left in. I definitely think Elle's gonna have a final confrontation with Vecna. I think that's obviously
inevitable.
Going to happen. I think they're going to have to make it to Creel's house in the Upside Down, and in order to distract, Nathan's not going to like me for this.
You better not kill off Dustin or Steve.
No. But I think in order to distract the, what are we calling them? Demobats?
Yeah, Demobats.
I think Eddie is going to grab his guitar and an amp. He's going to go up on the top of Creel's house.
Don't we see that in the trailer?
In the trailer.
We see something.
And he's going to shred it out while those bats are at him. He's going to sacrifice himself, but in probably
Eddie
the coolest
better not
way
die.
ever.
I like Eddie.
He's going to die. But he's going to do it in like the coolest way ever. And that's how they're going to like get to the house. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't have any predictions. I don't know. Maybe it's because I didn't haven't had a chance to really truly create a prediction in my head about this with it. So what are yours?
I have a few, but I will get into those as we go through these. But let's first sing. The main thing from this season was the whole Vecna reveal. We got a connection with Vecna, and we find out who he actually is. He's one. The first.
Yeah, I think I guessed that pretty early on when they said one was no longer around anymore, and the guy that ended up being one was the one telling the story. I'm like,
creepy.
Yeah,
he's a creepy dude.
He's one. And that's probably
great acting on his part, though. Yeah. He was very creepy. But we got that reveal, and we also found out that he is Henry Creel, the son of Victor Creel, which it was awesome to see Robert Englund as Victor. That was cool.
Yeah.
And then we find out he's Vecna.
Exactly.
It was three twists.
And I timed it. I timed it this time, and that whole scene lasted 20 minutes of exposition, which I loved. I loved exposition.
It was really good.
So I was super happy about that. But Sam, since you've had more time to sit with this information, what are your thoughts on Vecna / Henry Creel?
I loved it. I loved this reveal. I was sitting there.
My jaw was on the floor.
Yeah, I was in the van on the ride back for the choir tour. Really sick. It was the worst runny nose I had ever had in my life. I felt like absolute crap. So my mouth was already kind of open because I had to breathe through my mouth. But I'm sitting there and these reveals start happening from the moment that he starts throwing people around and we realize he's one. My mouth was already open. And then, the twist after twist that he's not only that, but he's Henry Creel's son and he's Vecna. It was crazy. My mouth was on the floor, at the end of that. I thought it was great. But as for his character and stuff, I like it. And I like how it kind of helps make sense why the Upside Down's doing what it's been doing for the past few seasons. It's been going after Elle. Why would it go after this random girl? Why are her superpowers connected?
Yeah, why is she so important?
Right, connected with the Upside Down. That's all explained at this point. I like it. I think he's an interesting villain. We thought the Vecna was interesting from the start, but now he's actually got weight and significance to the story instead of he's just a cool bad guy. And it explains why he's different than the Demogorgons.
Exactly.
Why he can talk, why he's humanoid. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yes. So. But Dad, you weren't sold on much of this season, but what about this villain? I think you were sold on the season, but it wasn't as big of a reveal for us as it was for you. So what do you think of this villain in this reveal?
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah,
I'm not sure I understand what
I'm tired, okay?
I know, I am too. It was fine. I mean, it wasn't to me this massive revelation. I figured it out 2 episodes earlier when he starts talking about one. And so, at that point, we get to the end. I keep waiting for more to happen. And I think that's the problem. You guys were came back from the choir tour and you're like, Dad, have you watched it yet? And I'm like, no. And you're like, you got to watch it. We can't wait to talk about it. It's the most amazing thing ever. And then, I got to the ending and I'm like, okay, yeah. But I'm ready for the next part just to see where it goes. So, it's not that I didn't like the series. It's just that I didn't think that it was the big reveal that you guys thought it was. So,
all right. Well, another huge thing from this season was how powerful Elle actually is. So we saw her disintegrate one into the Upside Down, which was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, that was pretty intense.
She is more powerful than the original, which means that she can take him down now, but he does have the full power of the Upside Down on his side. So, Dad, thoughts on Elle and her power?
I'm just trying to figure out where these kids got their powers. Did they explain
They cloned him. They cloned one. They explained that in the exposition.
I missed that. I need to just go back and watch that exposition.
In this season?
Yes.
I did not catch that.
You didn't catch that?
They were cloning?
Yes. They kept making them from him.
That's not what I got.
They would use his DNA and then find a mother, and then they would have another child to use. That's why we see the mom of Jane.
Well, we got that from season, what was it, 2?
Yes.
I think we knew that, but I thought these were just kind of think X-Men, just, powerful children.
No. They were from.
So where does one get his powers from?
he was born with them.
See, that's a more compelling story to me than 11.
Mm-hmm.
Where did this come from in the first place?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
We might get that.
We might find that out. We have 4 hours of content to look forward to. So,
but it could just be as simple as the X-Men. It's just, as a mutation. That is a valid explanation.
We might see it. But Sam, do you think that Ella is powerful enough to destroy Vecna and survive in Volume 2?
Oh, man.
She had a difficult time closing the Upside Down in Season 2, but now she's more powerful because of Nina, so...
Yeah, it depends on what kind of story they want to leave us off with. Do they want to leave us off with a happy ending? Her and Will are together.
I've heard that they're not having a happy ending. The Duffer Brothers have said that.
Or does she end up sacrificing herself to put an end to this, and Mike has to go on without her? And that's really what it comes down to. But as to what I would like, I'm not really sure. I'm kind of leaning towards the sacrifice one just because I think it's a more compelling story. But if she ended up making it, I wouldn't be upset with that either, as long as they make it feel right, it still feels like she had to give something up somehow. But I don't know. She is powerful, but you got to deal with the entire Upside Down now.
I think that this is my prediction, and I'm almost pretty sure it's going to happen. I think that she'll be having a battle with Vecna in his little mind palace that we see when Max is being, sucked the life force out of her. I think that that's where the battle is going to happen. There's going to be a portal, and I think that she's going to sacrifice herself. And I think the last thing that she's going to hear is Mike saying, "I love you," because that was a big deal in episode 2.
Yeah.
And then the portal's going to close, and she's going to have this giant battle with Vecna and sacrifice herself. But I think that'll be the last thing she hears and all that stuff. I think that is where they're going to go with it.
That's pretty dark, dude.
Or they could flip that, and once he says that, she comes back. They could play that either way.
They could.
No, this is not a Disney movie.
No, this is a very dark show, so I don't think that they will go that way. But last but not least, Nancy is stuck in the Upside Down with Vecna hunting her. So, yeah, Sam, do you think that she'll survive? Or?
Yeah, she's got to get with Steve. They are gonna finish that story up. They've been teasing it this entire season.
What's Mike's? Is it not Mike's?
Will's brother.
Will's brother's
Jonathan.
name.
Jonathan. How do you forget that? That's my name.
Because he's a forgettable character, honestly, and apparently Nancy's forgotten him. So what's that all about? What I feel bad for the guy.
No, he's being a jerk.
Okay.
He moved to, was it California?
He's a stoner now.
He's a stoner now, and he's already
we don't diss
like,
on Argyle. Argyle's cool.
Argyle
is cool.
I like Argyle.
But Jonathan was even like, he got like an acceptance letter to the same college and is like not accepting it just because he's kind of done with Nancy. He's just,
all right.
He's just done with her. So he's kind of,
I'm rooting for Nancy and Steve.
I've been rooting for
I
him
don't think Steve will make it.
He's not gonna die.
I think that's what they've been setting
They
up.
can't have Elle die and Steve die. They gotta have at least one.
We'll save this for a little bit.
They're all gonna die.
Avengers Infinity War style.
Everybody but Will.
Oh gosh.
And he's just gonna get a haircut.
And then the real world becomes the Upside Down for him.
Yep.
Oh jeez.
Stop.
Oh no, I don't like that. But Dad,
the Upside Down was just a metaphor for his grief after all of his friends died.
This has all been
that's why it's in the
mental
past.
breakdown.
Yep. Oh gosh, no, let's stop. Dad, if Nancy,
that's my prediction sure to go wrong.
If Nancy does survive, how do you think she'll make it back? Just playing.
Well, I think they've set it up about the songs.
Yeah,
so what's her favorite song?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think
we'll find that out.
I actually saw somebody like break this down when Robin was snooping through her room or whatever, and I think it was the 5th episode, 4th episode. She finds some tapes of like music of Nancy's.
Yeah.
She probably figured out that that's one of her favorite songs.
Yeah. Okay. So. Well, like we've been saying, this show doesn't coddle you at all. Doesn't, it's not comfortable. So any predictions on who's going to die or sacrifice themselves? If anyone.
Yeah, I think we kind of touched on it. I think Elle, most likely. And I think Eddie is going to have to do it. Stranger Things has a track record of introducing likable side characters and then killing them off in the same season.
They didn't do it with Robin, though. I'm just saying.
No,
So there's still a chance.
but they did it with a lot of other characters. So
I when we've been talking about this, I mean, all of these things seem plausible. Elle, Eddie, all that. But the one that, like, when you said it, that was like, that's it, is Steve. I really do think so.
I think that's the way they've been setting up this whole season.
I don't want it. Nope.
I think it's. I'm super sad though,
because you got to go back to season 1 and how Steve was a jerk.
He was a big jerk,
and so you make him likable over the next 3 seasons, and then
very likable. Yeah,
no,
that's very strange.
What they're going to do, because Steve is one of my favorite characters, and I love the relationship between Steve and Dustin so much. It's always been so much fun. Yeah. But I think that that's going to happen.
No.
So the past 6 years have been fun, but all good things must come to an end. Stranger Things 4 Volume 2 releases July 1st without 4 hours of content, so be ready for that, and we'll definitely...
Is that a Friday?
I don't know, actually.
I think that's a Friday.
I think it's Friday. Yeah, that's Friday.
Oh,
that's Friday.
Yeah, it's a Friday.
It's Friday.
We may watch it that weekend.
Yeah,
I don't think
Friday.
we have a chance to watch it Friday.
Hey,
we'll figure it out.
That's a Friday night. I get to sleep in. Tristan and I staying up. We watching the whole thing.
All right.
We're
All right.
exhausted.
Well, good job.
Thank you. Good job, Nate. Good segment.
Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Anything else?
Yeah, an MCU Thunderbolts movie is happening. We've been kind
Where's
of
our credit?
calling that storyline for a while now, but it will be Marvel's Suicide Squad. Probably with much less profanity.
Yeah, pretty sure.
But that's exciting. I'm excited for that. I think we've been wanting.
They've been
that story
setting that
for a
up
while.
with Yelena.
They should have
and
James Gunn.
Taskmaster and John Walker. John Walker. And
I feel like James
Zola.
Gunn should direct that though.
Huh?
Maybe
Because he does a
could
good
happen.
job with that.
Yep.
Yeah. that'd be fun.
But on Instagram, the Flash producer Barbara Muschetti, the wife of Andy Muschietti, indicated that a trailer for the highly anticipated film may be just around the corner.
They've just got to find Ezra Miller first because he's disappeared now.
Are you serious?
Yeah, serious.
Oh,
Dude,
gosh. I swear, I want a biopic of that man's life because it is the weirdest thing I have ever
it's
seen.
strange. Taika Waititi shared an update on his Star Wars movie. He's still writing the script, but the one thing that he said is the reason he's taking his time to write the script is he understands how important this property is, and he needs to make sure that everything he does feels like a Star Wars
Thank you,
movie.
Taika Waititi.
That makes
and
me
he's
feel
in Buzz Lightyear and he's doing stuff.
well. No, that makes me feel a lot better
he's
about this because if you make a Thor Ragnarok version, a feel movie in Star Wars, that's not going to work. No. And so, I feel good about that.
He's a great filmmaker. I think he'll do this well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I guess that's pretty much going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast.
If you had a good time listening, it would be awesome if you could share this with your friends.
Yeah, and remember the show, it's only a small part of the Tatooine Sons world. So if you liked it and you want to get more, be sure to like us on Facebook and join our Facebook discussion group. And you can follow us on Twitter to get in on all the action. And you can keep up to date with everything we've got going on at TatooineSons.com.
That's right. And don't forget to follow the show on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss our next episode. And thank you again, Mary, for the review.
Thank you.
Please take a second to review the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever podcast app that you prefer. Gentlemen, good show.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for all your hard work on doing this. Anything else you guys would like to say?
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you, always.
This party's over.
I like that Wookiee.
Don't get technical with me.
Joy, please.
Yep, yep.